So welcome everyone. My name is Taurus the Legend. Thank you so much for joining us at our SAP Garage series, episode 3, Digitize Supplier Invoices with a Compliant e-invoice process. We have a great agenda lined up for you today. Mr. Ramesh Varsani and Natalia Trestina from Accelerated S2P will be presenting the Digitize Supplier Invoices with a compliant e-invoice process. They'll do a mission walkthrough and a quick demo, and then we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. Just wanted to let you guys know that you are all part of the Customer Value Network, so just stay tuned. We have a couple of new webinars in the process of being organized. Also, if you want to join any of the practitioners forums, the links are here. Those are our other monthly calls that give you a more of a holistic overview over BTP topics as well as UX topics. And with that, I'd like to hand this over to Ramesh and Natalia. Ramesh.
Thank you for that. And let me share my screen with you and let's get started on this exciting journey. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the BTP platform and the Discovery Center, but the Discovery Center's purpose is to make things easy for you guys to understand some of the value of the BTP platform. And we're going to be going through a little bit about, well, we're going to go through a lot about the application because the focus here is how is BTP helping us support solving business issues, okay? So if you do want to know lots more about it, if you do go to the BT on the Discovery Center, there's views and there's a project board. Let me just do a quick live escape for it and do a live little foray into the Discovery Center. So in here we have the items, which the overview. Then we have the project board, which will take you through each phase step by step, and lots of resources to help you understand and look at things. Now, we are continually looking at feedback and improving this thing. So any feedback and whatever you get will be welcome. In the interest of time, I'm not going to use a Discovery Center to do the full walkthrough. Natalia and I are going to actually run a live demo, so we should be fun. And I'm going to use the slide to give you a bit more positioning. So without much ado, let's go through a little bit more about the positioning. Right. In terms of IIE as an application, what's it all about? Well, it's about its purposes. If we have a situation where we've automated things, we've got Ariba giving us digital automation, and most of our invoices are coming through the network, but we still have a handful of items which are still coming through on paper. So we want to get that into the accounts payable process very quickly, with almost a zero-touch effort. That's where IIE is ideally geared for. So it's all about automating the last step. And here, what do I mean by the last step or the last mile? It's about, well, I've managed to automate everything else through the digitization of the network, through Ariba networks, or even to point-to-point connections where I have very large volumes of suppliers. And then what about the little tail end? Well, that's where this thing fits in, the little tail end over here, as you can see in the second point. But in addition, in order to get it digitized, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about paper coming into a system using some sort of extraction engine and then pushing it very quickly into the system. The other use case you can use for this is, are my cycle times so long, where I'm trying to get things into the digitization of the accounts payable process? Is it too long? I need something very quickly. And here you will see how quick this is. When an invoice comes in, literally within seconds, it's available in my backend system, whether it's Ariba or SAP ERP, whether it's S4 or HANA, it doesn't matter. It supports them both, into them very quickly. And that's what the idea is all about. And the other thing with the accountants in the room, you'll be happy to know it's actually a very cost-effective solution as well. So it is very cost-effective, and a lot of organizations are using technology to deal with some of the increasing expenses that we have in the outsourcing functionality. Okay, And again, the last but not least, it's a encompassing solution, which basically means everything is sitting on a common platform where it's easy to maintain everything else. So the total cost of ownership is low. So again, these are the benefits that you'll get into reducing invoice effort, control improves. I mean, Taurus mentioned compliance. Well, as well as compliance, control is also important. Therefore, people are following the same process, and therefore I've got visibility very quickly. What I'd like to do is share a little bit, just a handful of thoughts with one of our customers gone live, a very, very large global investment fund. I'm not going to go through all the items in here. You can read that later on to your heart's content in the Discovery Center. But what I would like to go through is the outcomes that they've achieved. They've been live for a couple of months now, and they've got 1,500 invoices per PDF invoices coming through them every month, or per week, sorry, per week. It's been great. Processing time they've seen is reduced by 75%. In terms of end-to-end, this is now getting it into the end system, either SAP Ariba or SAP ERP, and then processing and doing the exception management is now gone down to a minute. And here the focus is on exception management. Anything which is good goes to straight away. Nobody needs to touch it. So here we've actually reduced the exception handling time as well, which typically in accounts payable is about 20% of the volume, but it takes 80% of my time. So here we're giving time back to people. All right. And then if we look on some other notable items, 25% reduction in headcount, improving data accuracy. Again, this is all about, again, using a good data extraction engine, and then you get good results. So they've got an over 95, well, technically right now when we last looked at them, it was 98% they were getting. Okay. What's it about? How easy is it? And what disruption will it cause? This problem, if any of those use cases resonate with you, to have this application working for you is dead easy. How easy? The fact that it's sitting on the B2B platform, it means all you need is to just either take a tenancy model or a subscription model, and it's working straight away. And what do I mean by straight away? Well, how easy is it and what's the technology impact? Let me explain to you. Items come in, they go straight into BTP. Here, if you have existing invoices coming to a mailbox in your own organization right now, the only piece you need to do is forward those email items into this mailbox. And therefore now, BTP, well, IAE and BTP will take care of it. Therefore, supplier doesn't need to know anything that's happening there. So there's no disruption there, no communication effort required. Then once it's in this box in BTP, the extraction engine takes out all the data. In here also, IAE will enhance and augment the data. So add values and look up values, enrich the data, and then send it onto either SAP buying and invoicing, or if it's another S4 scenario, it could be your ECC system, it could be a HANA system, it could be a Vim system, or it could be a public cloud system. So here, the system's not fussy. Okay, so, and this is very important to understand. The application is very, very useful in terms of it actually connects to almost anything. Yeah, and we've also got the third option here, a non-SAP system. So if you did want to use a non-SAP system, that too is also possible. And we have a handful of suppliers. Well, let me say, we've got quite a few customers who are actually doing that. They've linked their system to Oracle and other non-SAP systems. But again, using the B2B platform as a layer to do all the heavy lifting and give them the benefits that we just discussed and talked about. Now, I'm now going to just quickly give you a high-level overview of the concepts and what it works and how it works. And then I'm going to hand over to Natalia to do a live demo. So let me tell you what it does first. So we're effectively looking at a 3 to 4 stage process. The invoice comes in, we capture the invoice through the PDF, through the email as an attachment, okay? Extraction takes place. And then these two green elements actually happens on BTP. This is where the enrichment and the augmentation takes place. So here, using the extraction engine together with the value that we're adding in the B2B platform, we enrich the data and we get it ready to be sent to the end recipient. In this situation, the SAP systems. So once we finish with the item goes into the SAP system in a state where it's either posted or posted with errors, or if it's in an ERP system, it can either be held or parked or posted. So again, enough functionality there to do this. Let's have a quick look at what it does, and then we'll have Natalia give us a live demo. So as I said, simplification and minimum disruption. Supplier saying invoice, no difference. The invoice now is routed to us. The invoice comes into the IIE BTP platform. It goes through and does its augmentation and enrichment process. I can see what it's done. And then if I have a look at this in a small summary and following that invoice trail over there, I can see this in Ariba. And if I look at this in Ariba in a bit more detail, I'll see all the items that it managed to extract, and in addition, a full audit trail of everything it's done. Therefore, I can see the PDF invoice itself. I can see any augmentation notes that it's done to it. I can see also any, basically, the email attachment that came with, the email body. So I can see everything that came through, and I've lost no audit, no chain whatsoever. So nothing is sitting in an environment. So once it's gone to the end recipient system, the recipient system has got all the data that the person could ever need. So there's no need for them to go back to BTP. So similar situation with an SAP backend. So here the invoice is going to come through. Extraction engine takes over, IAE takes over. Then we're going to send it into SAP, and I'm now doing a simple list following the invoice in SAP. And here I can see the invoice. And then if I go to the little option over there, I can see again all the auditing information that I could ever want. The actual physical invoice, the audit trail, and the email body. Okay, on that note, I'm now going to hand over to Natalia, and then I'll explain a little bit more about the enrichment and augmentation it does in a bit more detail. Natalia, over to you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Right, let me just share my screen.
Now, what Natalia is doing while she's preparing, she's going to be doing two sets, two demos, basically. The first set will be to send 3 invoices through to SAP Ariba buying and invoicing, and another set, another 3 invoices going through to SAP backend ERP system. And what we've done deliberately is one invoice is a perfect invoice where everyone's following our process, best practice, and it matches everything and is going to go straight through. The other 2 invoices, one PO and one non-PO, will have problems. And then we'll quickly look how we can look at it and resolve the problems. We're not going to spend too much time resolving problems because it may take a bit of time, but we'll show you the front end. Say, okay, fine, it's now in the Ariba, in SAP, and they can now start resolving the problems. Okay, over to you, Natalia.
Thank you. So, right, let me just walk you through the standard process. So this would be the vendor sending the invoices to the dedicated inbox that we've set up. So you can see the invoices attached. So I'm just sending them through. What we actually did 10 minutes before the demo, I sent those invoices just to avoid any waiting around for them to process, because the scheduled job runs every 5-10 minutes to pick them up from the inbox. So we don't want to wait 5-10 minutes. So we can see them here already in the IIE, and hopefully soon we'll see the other ones that I've just sent. So let me start with the Ariba demo. So this is the standard IIE dashboard where you can see all the invoices that have been processed. Let me just go into the first one here. You can see all the steps that it went through up until the submission. Seems to be successful. I'll just copy the invoice number and go to my Ariba system. You can either find the invoices in your to-do list or alternatively just search by the invoice number. So let me remove any restrictions. Okay. So as you can see, this is one of the invoices that posted successfully. So it's reconciling. As Ramesh mentioned before, you can see all the original invoice here. You can see the augmentation log for the any audit requirements, as well as the email body that was sent along with the invoice. So as you can see from the PO, it picked up all the details, everything's populated, and it's been successful. Right, let me see the other ones. Let me just find the non-PO one just to show what happens when things don't go quite right. So this is a non-PO document that's submitted okay, but it should have had some issues. Let me just search for it. Right. So as you can see, it's been submitted with errors. Let me just see if we can fix it and submit. So I can see that there's no company code. Let me just add a company code, a plant. What else? We don't have any units. So this looks like some office supplies. So I'll just assign an appropriate commodity code. Okay. And let me just quickly check if they don't have a cost center. So I'll quickly assign a cost center and a plant. Right, let's see if we can submit it now. Okay, so it's been saved and we can see, hopefully we can approve it now. Right, so you can see that the status have now changed to reconciling. It's been approved by us. And yeah, we basically fixed a non-PO document that had some data missing on it. Right, I believe the other document was another PO, so I'll just quickly show it as well. Right, so it seems this one also matched the PO and posted successfully. So it's reconciling. As with the other ones, you can find all the attachments there. Yeah, so this is the Ariba processing. And as you can see, the invoices that I've sent at the beginning of the demo, now they're also processed. It just takes a few minutes for them to go through. So now I shall carry on with the SAP demo. So, right. So this is our SAP tenancy. So again, these three ones are the ones that I posted earlier on, and these ones that I've posted at the start of the demo. So let me just look at the ones that are already processed. They all submitted to SAP successfully. So this one would be, let me just open it up. Right. So this is SAP. So I can go into the list of parked and held documents. This is a standard SAP transaction, which displays the documents that didn't post successfully. So if I put an entry date to today and just run it through, right, so that would be one of the documents that didn't post successfully, was held. So I can easily see an AP can go through this list and correct any documents and post them. So I'll just double click on it, takes me straight to MIR4, and I can check what's wrong with it. So if I go into the change, right, so this is just warning messages about the dates. I can see that the tax code is missing here. Right, so this is a US non-tax, so I'll put the right, which one is it? Zero tax. Let's see if that fixes. Right, so now we can see that that document has been posted. So if I run this again, you'll see that the document is not there anymore. So now I can go into another transaction, which again is a standard SAP transaction, which lists all the posted documents. I'll just select one of the variants, which displays only the only the posted documents. I'll remove the company code here, run it through. Okay, so let's open one of the ones that just went through during the live demo. So this is one of the PO documents, invoices. So you can see it copied over the PO line items. You can also see, same as on the Ariba, you can see the attachment list up here. So, you can see the original invoice. You can see the email body. And you can also see the augmentation log for any of the audit purposes. So yes, all the information was copied over from PO, so it's all correct and posted successfully.
Thank you for that, Natalia. Anything else you want to show us in terms of salient features?
I think that about covers it.
Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the session from you again. So let me do that, share my screen. So, 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 let me do that, share my screen
there's a couple of questions in the chat. Ramesh, I don't know if you guys want to address it. I see
We
that
will.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that Prashant's been responding to as well, so that's a fantastic idea. So let's look at those questions. But again, we can either look at the questions right now or at the end. So let's look at the end after I finish the augmentation piece.
Okay.
So one of the things which I want to talk about, and I understand some of you may have here audio issues with myself. So can you hear me now clearly? Hopefully you can hear me now clearly.
Yes.
So let's,
yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. So one of the things which I want to talk about is Natalia made this look so simple. Okay. Natalia made this look so simple, and from an implementation and usage perspective, it is, because the idea behind this is to use some of the powers we have with current day's technology into the machine learning and artificial intelligence. But before I go into that and talk about continuous learning and look at some of the questions, because the questions are arranged around storage and data extraction. So let me first talk a little bit about some of the augmentation and enrichment available. So at the tenant settings, you can you can decide which systems you want, which email addresses or whatever to go into. So you could run parallel systems if you wanted to. In addition, if you look at the more interesting versions, again, if I want to put some default rules for items which are coming through. So here there's 18 different rules I can set up. If I have parking, I want you to discard the PO lines and do some consolidations. If I want to aggregate lines, i.e. the consolidations, how do I want you to behave? I can talk about things like, if it's a non-PO item, how do I want you to code it? And it could be as simple as, well, if it's this supplier, then I want you to code it to this cost center and this GL account. Done. Okay, i.e. 640020. However, if it's got the word electricity in it, then I want you to do this. So you can set up simple rules in the back end. And this is the difference here. The system is not using a templated approach. We're using a pure machine learning document extraction capabilities and based on new technology. Okay, so you are not having to set up templates after templates after templates saying this supplier, this is where the invoice number is, whatever. We're just extracting the data, making sense of it, using ML and AI to put it into the right boxes, and then getting on with it. And one of the questions was, how do we deal with a situation where sometimes you have low recognition fields? Again, the system learns over time, and you've got to correct it maybe once or twice, and then it learns and then it carries on. Okay, so the more, so basically it is what we call that learning piece, we call it assisted machine learning. Yeah, where you're teaching systems about sometimes these fields are a bit cranky. In addition to that, what about dealing with our key people who we're interacting with, the suppliers who are sending us this data? Well, if things go wrong or if things go well, they need to be told. So here in the configuration option, you've got 5 items where we can set up email templates. So if an invoice is in process, an invoice is not in progress, again, for whatever reason, if you had a no PO, no pay policy, then this will kick in. Or whatever you want to, whatever rules you want to have, you can set up. So then you can customize your email templates and they'll get a polite email back. Again, so the idea is, let's do and automate as much as we can. So AP are not focusing on doing the humdrum things, but things which are genuinely adding value. Okay. So I talked a little bit about invoice capture. And again, this is where I'm going to also address another question that we had about archiving and how long do we keep those items. Now, the idea behind this is once the item's gone through to the backend recipient system, Ariba, or SAP. Ideally, we don't want that information in a BTP at all, and that's exactly what happens. Okay, so what we're doing is we're looking at the successful transmission into the recipient system, and as soon as that's happened, in configuration, and this is important, it's in configuration, you can set up the rule. Once that's happened, delete the data. Or two, you can say, once that's happened, delete all the line item data, just keep the header data. So typically right now, most of our customers are following the latter. They're deleting all the line item data and keeping header data for 3 months for an auditing perspective. And then they just delete that data as well. So therefore, IIE is not storing your information. It is the BTP platform is not holding any of your information. It's just a simple a simple staging system, which is holding it whilst it's processing it through, and that's it. So in terms of security, in terms of compliance, we've gone through all of those things. We're making sure everything is successfully done. Okay. And last but not least, we talked about one of the key things here, if we do have accountants in this room, auditing. Again, accountants want to make sure that they can see everything which is correctly. If my supplier sent 5 invoices, have I got 5 invoices back? And again, we're because everything is automated, people have a degree of nervousness at the beginning. So here we are setting up little simple things where you can have report, little email sent to you like this saying, look, today we had 13 emails and we processed 13 invoices, done. Everyone's happy. Okay, and obviously as your confidence increases, then you're going to start, you use less of these auditing functionalities as you go on. So it's one of those things, but again, from a functionality perspective, it needs to be there, and it is there. So again, in that attachment of the Excel, you can see all the data that's actually been sent as part of the summary in the body of the email. 13 equals 13, and here's the 13 that I did process. That takes me on to deployment, and how long does this take to be implemented? Well, as we discussed before, because if you go back to the architecture, it's sitting on a BTP platform. The benefit of BTP is I can now consume things and have things working for me very quickly because it's in a BTP platform. And all I'm doing here is then doing connectivity. So I'm first sending a message to my internal IT team saying, look, you know that mailbox we have with all those invoices coming in? Can we forward them now to this mailbox? Okay. And the second thing is obviously the configuration between SAP, Ariba, and BTP. So therefore it's connected. Or if you're an S4 side situation, BTP and S4, that's done. And as soon as that's done, the system's up and running. And then the only thing you may want to do is set up those rules and some email templates and things like that. And that basically is in the setup stage, which takes, depending on how elaborate you make it, 2 to 4 weeks. And then during the same time or thereafter, depending how you want to work, you can set up all the rules and push things through and make sure if there's any help with machine learning that we need to do, assist and provide the assisted machine learning. And once that's done, you're ready to go live. So effectively, you could have this application working for you within 2 to 4 weeks. How onerous is it? Not very onerous at all in terms of involvement of your people. You need an accounts payable person, somebody or a technical person definitely to help us with the connectivity side. And again, one thing which Natalia did show us, she showed us the if I go to my session over here, she showed us the cockpits and the, oops, it's gone refreshed, I'm logged out, oh dear. Okay. She showed us basically the admin screens in IIE. Now, typically, not many people go in there once the confidence is raised. So the idea here is we're trying to use machine learning and AI assisted machine learning to help the system that we don't need to do intervention many times. So that's the key. The key is let the thing learn, so minimize intervention. Okay, and now quick, last but not least, the roadmap. Where are we heading and what function, what's coming next? Well, we've done this already, reconciliation, read emails. We're looking at so additionally adding some more rules to help with the coding, so automate a lot more of those coding stuff. And we're also looking to improve the OCR tax rule determination. And there's a lot of other stuff which is happening as well. I'm not going to go through all of them in line item detail. I'm now going to focus on the questions. Prashan, if you want to help me with the questions in terms of, I know you've been responding to some of them. So let's pick up the one in the content server.
Sure, I think Prashun has already responded to that. So maybe the next one is from Nakul Thakur. Does this then replace the open text IES solution? Additionally, is unstructured data also handled? And what is the difference between this and the document information extraction service in BTP?
Let's start with the first question from Nakul. You can use this to replace the open text, because again, it's doing something similar. So, and now you have a choice of items that you can use. Picking up on the next question, which was around DIE, the SAP DIE, the document extraction service. This, and I've been using the word document extraction engine. This can use a bunch of extraction engines, and we can link it up with DIE, the SAP's document extraction engine. We've linked it up with some other third-party document extraction engines. But once the engines extracts the data, it's not just simply putting it into a simple XML and sending it. What we're doing is then picking it up and then enriching it. So yes, it's we too in this application can and have tested with DIE, SAP's document extraction engine. But right now we're using another product, a product called Ancora, which is also quite equally good, which we seem to be getting better results.
Okay, great. So our next question is from Leon. How do you feel with invoice fields which have a low recognition level of confidence? Extraction is not always a yes or no. Are the levels of confidence fixed?
Well, okay, so good question, Leon. Again, through the learning functionality, that's how we're fixing the thing. I'll give you an example. Very early on, we had a situation where if and Natalia, correct me if I'm wrong, if the date and the amount were too close, sometimes it was the extraction engines was merging those fields together. Then you correct it and then you tell it this shouldn't happen, and then it learns and it doesn't do it ever again. Yeah. So there's a bunch of things that we've done to help improve the thing. And again, some of it, as I said, it is machine learning in this instance here, it is assisted to help and improve things as we go along.
Okay, great. Next one is from someone that asks, what is IIE app, and is that a custom application in BTP?
Okay, IIE is let me use this as going back to this. So BTP is a platform. SAP have given us a platform where we can do lots of wonderful, weird, clever things. And so on this platform, business technology platform, we've built an application called Intelligent Invoice Express. So from that word alone, what the question that you're asking, yes, is it a custom app? It's a custom app built by a partner sitting on the SAP platform for all of you guys to consume. The purpose of this application is to digitize invoices and get them working with your business process in accounts payable or source to pay process. I hope that answers your question.
Mhm. Okay, so there's another one from Leon. Are corrections made by employee also fed back to the AI ML or AI machine learning? Who can train the underlying AI ML model, SAP, or do we do it ourselves?
That's a very good question, Leon. Right now, we're doing it through our support mechanism, but the idea behind this is to do it itself. So right now, we're basically extracting what the user did. Supposing, I'll give you a good example. Supposing in my early days when I did the implementation, I got some of these things wrong. And I find actually, you know what, under normal circumstances, this rule is fine. But every time it comes from this supplier, my accounts payable person goes in and changes the GL account or the cost center or the VAT code, whatever. Yeah. Then I can say, fine, you know, I can see that happens every time. So we do a compare. What did we post? What did we, you know, what did we send to the recipient system? And what did the recipient system post? We do a comparison of that. And that's where the assisted machine learning comes in. So there, then you go and refine some of the basic settings, and it's now automatically starting to learn, say, okay, you know what? You're now giving me this data back. Let me now correct myself. Okay, so that's what I mean by assisted machine learning. Right now, we are assisting it to help put the rules in, but over time, we want to automate 100%.
So another question from Guy, is S/4HANA required, or does it also work with the suite on HANA, EHP8?
It works with EHP8. So going back to the architecture diagram, it works with ERP, it works with S/4HANA, it works with the what used to be known as HEC, EHPH on a HANA platform. So in terms of the backend, us offering where the backend is SAP is very strong. Where it's a third-party system like an Oracle or whatever, then let's see what you have and let's see what we can do. But with the backend as an SAP flavor, whether it's Ariba or any of the SAP ERP flavors, including public cloud, it also works with that as well as private cloud.
Okay. Another question, did the customers deploy this application in their own BTP sub-account?
Good question. We offer two options. You can either do a subscription model where you can take this into your own sub-account, or you can have a tenancy model where if you don't want to say, look, you know, I don't want to be responsible for the BTP platform, but I like what it's doing, and then we can put you up on our BTP platform, and then you become a tenant. So we support both models of how you wish to purchase it.
Okay, and then one from John. What is the licensing model in BTP for this service?
The licensing, I mean, we can take this offline, but again, as I said, we do offer the functionality in both platforms. The licensing model is on the SAP App Store, where there is a standard offering where you've got the light version and you've got the standard version. So it is available on the SAP App Store. And I think, if I remember, also on actually it's not on the Discovery Center, but it is on the App Store. Yeah. Okay. But in terms of overlaying that with whether it's subscription or tenanted, again, that depends on how complex you want to make it. But again, that's a marginal additional charge.
Okay, and then there's a question from Philip. From an IT security perspective, email forwarding can be blocked for most organizations. Can we set up the organization email within this app or product instead?
Yes, you can. Now, the reason why I use the word forwarding, because again, the idea was to minimize the disruption with the vendors. If you feel very comfortable, then you're going to notify your vendors to send it to my invoices at, say for argument's sake, accelerated.stp.com, then we're happy that the system works as well. So it doesn't really matter. It just needs to get to that inbox, which BTP is consuming, and the systems go.
Okay. The next question comes from B. Montano. The supplier invoice already comes with the PO number, which exists only in our system. The PO is created before, and we have to share this information with the supplier. Or how should we do it? I hope I got that question correct, Bruno.
Okay, not a problem. So if you've already pre-informed your supplier of a purchase order number, and again, Natalia did a demonstration where she took us through that, then the system will recognize the purchase order, and we can even use a purchase order to pick up all the PO lines and put it in if it's having issues with reading those lines. So there's a configuration setting you can say, right, if I've got a PO and I can recognize it, let me use a PO as a mechanism to populate all my lines which I'm expecting. And then I do a comparison of the cost at the header level, telling, okay, the PO was for 20,000 euros, fine. The invoice also for 20,000 euros, therefore these are the lines which I can. So this is a configuration setting. Or you can say, you know what, I pick up the PO, that's great, but then I want you to read the lines and pick up the lines and put the lines in. So again, this is a configuration setting, which you can decide how you want your business process to work. But the key thing is, if you have been diligent and very good in terms of best practice, informed your supplier of the PO, we are definitely using the PO information to make this more efficient and more accurate.
Okay. Another question from Jay Oakley. Will the use of IIE require the use of the integration suite, or what other BTP services required to use IIE?
It uses a little bit of connectivity, yes. So there is right now we're running it on the integration suite is the answer to that. So yes, if you went for the subscription model, you would also need the integration suite. If you don't want any of those, as said, responsibilities, then you can opt for the tenanted model, and then we will take care of all those integration issues.
Okay, second to last question from Michelle. Do we have to purchase the AI components in order to use this in BTP?
No.
Okay. And then from Thorsten, can it be deployed to a Neo or Cloud Foundry BTP sub-account?
It can. Again, we've recently upgraded. Again, this is a bit technical. Natalia, help me with. The answer is it can. Am I right? In the Cloud Foundry?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Great. I think we've exhausted the questions in the chat. If there's any other questions that you have for Ramesh or Natalia, please do unmute your line or type your question in the chat. We have an additional 5 or 6 more minutes to answer any more questions. Any other questions for Ramesh or Natalia? Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ramesh and Natalia, for a great session. I will be uploading the session, the presentation for today, and then I'll include Ramesh and Natalia's email address. So if you wanted to reach out to them, or you can reach out to me, and then I can forward your request to them, however you feel comfortable. With that, thank you again, Ramesh and Natalia, for a great session. I want to thank all of you guys for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for our March edition. Do join us again in April. Our next session, our next garage session will be on April the 6th. Thank you again, and have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're located. Thank you.
Thank you.